Goedenavond en welkom bij een nieuwe livestream van Christenen voor Israël. En vanavond hebben we een hele bijzondere livestream, want voor het eerst in onze geschiedenis hebben wij niet alleen een bijzondere gast in de studio, maar hebben we ook publiek bij ons interview. En dat is voor ons onwennig, maar wel heel erg leuk. Van harte welkom ook in deze studio. Ik hoop dat u er plezier aan gaat hebben. En ik hoop natuurlijk dat u als kijkers thuis ook een fijne avond gaat hebben. Onze gast vanavond is mevrouw Rivka Ravitz. Misschien kent u haar, want wij hebben een paar maanden geleden in onze WhatsApp nieuwsdienst een filmpje over haar verstuurd. Mevrouw Ravitz was 7 jaar lang de stafchef van de Israëlische president Ruben Ridderhof. En bovendien is zij moeder van 12 kinderen, een orthodoxe vrouw uit Jeruzalem. Genoeg om een mooi interview met haar te houden. Welcome, Mrs. Ravitz. Thank you so much for being with us in the studio. I've just introduced you to our listeners, to our viewers in Dutch.
I understood a few words.
Giving you a lot of accolades as to where you come from, what you have done. You were the chief of staff to President Ruben Ridderhof for 7 years. You're a mother of 12 children. But how do you usually introduce yourself?
I say I'm Rivka Ravitz. I'm 47 years old. I live very close to Jerusalem, at the gate to Jerusalem. My husband is the mayor. And as you said, I have 12 children. I just now completed my PhD, computer science, thanks. And I was working for the last 25 years for the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, and then for the government. And the last 7 years, I was the chief of staff, and that's the highest job in the office of the Israeli 10th president.
Yes. Wow. To us, as regular Dutch people, this is something amazing. You were like a very high-ranking officer in the public office of the Israeli president, and at the same time you were a mother to 12 children. Your youngest, you just told us, is 3 years old.
Right.
How? How do you do this? How do you combine these two jobs?
So that's really not easy. You know, when I started, I was just 19, so I was just a mother to one. And I started working for the Israeli parliament. And then 2 years later, when I was 21, I already had 3 daughters. And I got an opportunity to work for an Israeli minister. I became the head of the office of an Israeli minister at the age of 21 or 22. I think I was the youngest. Not talking about being a woman, no women at those jobs. Not talking about being religious, no religious people at those jobs at those days.
So it's already very special that you were a woman and an Orthodox religious woman in this field of work, and then you have to combine it with having children. Do you get pregnancy leave or?
In Israel, you get 3 months of pregnancy leave. I never used them. I left for 2 weeks or so, and then I came back to office with the baby at the beginning. And then after 3 months, he could go to daycare, and I came back really for a full-time job. It was not easy, but I got a lot of help. My mother was very helpful all those years. My mother, she doesn't work. She was a housewife, and she's amazing. She helped me a lot. And my husband, even though he's a politician himself, he's very helpful. He helps a lot. He gives a lot of power. He gave me a lot of help.
Nice, nice. As an Orthodox Jewish lady, we might be a little bit biased as people from outside of Israel, but isn't your place as a woman in Orthodox Judaism in the kitchen?
No.
No.
There are poetry in the Bible. You find Dvorah, you find Terechtkwam, you find all the 5 of our mothers, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. I'm named after one of them, Rivka, Rebecca. So no, in those days, it was 96, it was not a regular thing for a woman to go to the Knesset, to the Israeli parliament. But already in those days, a lot of Haredi, ultra-Orthodox women worked. They did work out of home as teachers. And I learned to be a teacher at a Jerusalemite seminary, we call it. Between the age of 15 and 17 or 18, we learned to be teachers. I wanted to be an English teacher. And I even got a job. That was not easy in Jerusalem because there were a lot of religious young girls that had a degree for being a teacher. So I got a job, and at that very same summer, I got married, and my father-in-law, he was a member of Knesset. He was a parliamentarian, and he was the head of the religious party in the Knesset. At that same summer, he helped Benjamin Netanyahu to become a prime minister for the first time. It was 97. Yeah. And as appreciation for his help, Netanyahu called him and said, you could choose a job in the Knesset. What would you like to be? And he said, I would like to have the finance committee. So he gave him to be the head of the finance committee. That's a very professional committee in the Knesset. That's the place where we decide about the budget of the government and all the ministries and the budget of the country. So he took the job, and his assistant, his parliamentarian assistant, left him. He went to university. And
that's how you became involved in working in the Knesset?
He asked me to come with him, and I said, no, I'm not. I want to be a teacher. But he convinced me, and he said it will be a better salary, come. And I tried it, and I left. I stayed there for 25 years.
So you liked it?
Yeah, I liked it. Yeah. Maybe I would like to be a teacher better, but I liked it. I really liked it. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. What did you like about working in such a political environment?
I think I liked most of the thing that I could change lives of people. We had a lot of influence on a lot of lives of people. In the Knesset, you could change the law, you could change the budget, you could decide new. So I loved it. And as being there, as the only religious woman in the building, people were calling me and asking for help. Sometimes even for silly things, but they saw me as and I helped a lot of people, and I liked it.
Nice. So you started as an assistant to your father-in-law. How did you come to work for Israel's president, Ruben Ridderhof?
A few years later, there was a new law in the Knesset saying that you can't work with relatives from first degree. It's anti-corporation law. And I had to look after a new office to work for. And Ruben Ridderhof himself was hiring his daughter, and she had to leave his office too, so I went to work with him. He was nothing then. He was just a plain member of Knesset, and he was a member of the finance committee. And my father-in-law was the head of the finance committee, yeah. And I went to work for him. A year later, he became a minister. So I was the head of a chief of staff for an Israeli minister at the age of 23, maybe. It was probably the youngest one in Israel, not saying anything about being a woman, and of course religious. There were no women in the Knesset at those days.
Yeah. So, chief of staff, what do you do as a chief of staff?
So chief of staff is the highest rank in the offices in Israel. You organize the staff. Staff is the politician advisor and the finance advisor and the spokesperson and all those professional advisors that, right? So you have to arrange all of them together to see each one does his work, and if someone is not well, you have to send him and bring another one, and then you organize all the work around the minister. The minister doesn't move without you, so I take part in all those meetings, seeing the work getting done, going with him to give answers at the parliament, going with him to the prime minister always to see what everyone needs. It was like 24/7 around the clock. Yeah.
Wow, very busy job, very responsible job, and as you've been doing it for 20 or so years, you were probably very good at it.
Yeah, he always says he took me because he knew my father-in-law, but I stayed there, he says, because I was good.
Nice, nice.
Yeah. Good is not too much, you know, you just have to be tough.
Yeah, yeah. So you're a tough lady?
I acted as a tough lady. I had no choice.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds very unusual to be a mom to 12 and have such a demanding job. Is it usual for Orthodox women to be involved in so much at the same time? So
Orthodox women, they work a lot, in a big percentage. If in Israel, regular women work 81% of the women, at Haredi community, 83% of the women are working. But most of them are teachers, because that is comfortable with the children. You go out with the children, you come back with the children, you get off the summer and at holidays. So that's really the most common job you'll find ultra-Orthodox women into. At the last 10 years, you could find them also into high-tech and counting, bookkeepers. Again, it's jobs that they could work for, you know, for limited hours a day. You almost don't find women, regular women even, you don't find them as politicians, almost. You could find maybe 10% of the politicians are women, maybe less. And in the Knesset and in the government and in the president's house, maybe 1% of the workers were women, and religious, I never saw around me religious people, so it's not common, no.
No, no.
It's not common.
No. Was it difficult for you as a religious woman moving in this political world?
Yeah, sometimes it was difficult because as a religious woman, I kept Shabbat. I can't answer my phone for 24 hours on Shabbat. And I kept kosher food. I can't eat what my colleagues all eat. And I don't shake hands with men, even though my colleagues do, and things like that. And sometimes it became pretty demanding. You know, once we were in Singapore for Shabbat, and we were staying at the 38th floor. And we don't use elevators on Shabbat because it's electricity. So I went up 38 floors by foot.
Yeah, taking the stairs.
Yeah,
yeah,
taking the stairs.
Takes sacrifice. Is this because you're very ambitious? You want to be, did you ever aspire to be chief of staff with the President of Israel?
It was not my dream, really. I really dreamt to be a teacher. I'm not sure it's ambitious. I think I was just, I believe God put me at that point for some reason, and I just felt I'm on a mission, so I fulfill my mission.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was used to, and I was taught to by my parents, if you have a mission, so you fulfill it good.
Yeah.
You go on, you get your 100%.
Yeah.
Check.
So, you're no longer chief of staff. Does this mean your mission is fulfilled, or do you have a sense that, oh, this was my mission, after looking back on your time with the president?
So yes, people sometimes ask me, do you feel bad? You were not so much time with your children at those years. So I said, I feel bad sometimes because I missed some things, but I feel good also that I fulfilled it and I made it, and it was really very meaningful for me. I don't miss it today, but I still work for the public in all different places. I volunteer in some places. So I still work for the government as a volunteer, also for the president sometimes, and also for the government itself. So I'm still there, and I feel I still have a mission. I'm too young to finish my mission.
You're still fulfilling it.
Yeah.
Nice. You just said 83% of Orthodox Jewish women are working.
Yeah.
That's something I think most of us do not realize. We have this image of Orthodoxy being very traditional, with the women being at home with the children. How is this? Why is this? Can you explain how this is?
I'll tell you. And some things we are still very traditional. So let's say we get married very young. I got married at the age of 18. When I was pregnant with my first daughter, my mother was pregnant with her 10th. We were pregnant together. I met my husband just for 4 times, each time for 1 hour, and then we got engaged after 1 week that we knew each other, and we got married after 3 months, and we never met each other before, So sometimes some things we are very traditional with them, and we keep halacha, we keep Shabbat, we keep kosher food, and women don't touch men, only if it's my husband or my brother. So some things we are traditional with them. But women went out to work because of, after the Holocaust, we were missing men to learn the Torah. Torah is not only the Bible. We have also books after the Bible that are very important for us, that our men will sit down and learn them. And as they sit, I think it's 9 hours a day, and sometimes it's 11. Some learn 9 hours a day, and some go back from 9 o'clock in the evening until 11. So that's 11 hours a day. Since they are sitting in yeshiva, we call it yeshiva or koilel, they're sitting there and learning. So we needed a leave, you know. People needed something to live from. And then the women took on themselves the job and went out from home and to work. So today it's very common, and most of the Haredi wives work.
Yeah, to make a living for the family.
Living, yeah.
Because the men, they sit and learn Torah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a sense, to us modern people, this sounds very emancipated. On the other hand, it sounds a little bit unfair that the men get to sit and learn and the women get to work and do all the stuff, have 12 children and have a full-time job. But you choose this. It's even desirable in the Orthodox world to be able to have the men sit and learn Torah. Can you explain why this is so important?
So I'll tell you, around the world you have about 15 million Jews. Most of them are not religious. Most of them are secular. And there's only very few of them, I think maybe 100,000 of them that are learning the Torah. That's less than a promille, you know, it's really a very small percentage. The Torah, we believe, is the reason why God built this world. He built this world for having his children learning the Torah. That's the reason we believe he built the world. And as we see it in these days, we look at it and we say, so he built this world for this reason, but the reason is not happening. Almost none of the people. So after Holocaust, people in Israel decided, and also in the United States, they decided to build back the yeshiva and having students learning. and giving the women power to go out and work, that was not so regular for religious women. As you said, I think Sarah was at her tent, right? It was not the obvious thing for women to do, but our rabbis after the Holocaust said, we'll help the woman go out to work for helping the man. So the truth is 50% of the Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox men, work. 50% work. And 83% of the women work. So all that belief of the bias of saying religious people don't work is just, it's probably some sort of fake news. You know, I call it a point of view. If you want to understand my point of view, or if I want to understand your point of view, if I will be standing on a hill here and you will be standing on a hill there, we'll see different worlds. To understand each other, each one of us has to get down of his hill and meet, and then we'll see the world from the same point of view. People, also Jewish people, but secular in Israel, a lot of times they attack me when I come to secular offices and they say, oh, you are ultra-Orthodox, you don't work, you don't do anything. So I say, listen, I could explain you everything, but you have to get down of your hill.
Yeah, yeah. You've said twice now, Haredi, ultra-Orthodox. We have this term also in the media, and it usually has a connotation of like these extreme Orthodox people. Can you explain what the difference is between just a Jew who is living the Torah and someone who calls Haredi or ultra-Orthodox?
So we use the word Haredi. I know out of Israel it has a different connotation, but in Israel it's a regular word. And we use it to describe the ultra-Orthodox community that has a big community in Jerusalem, a big community in Bnei Brak, and small communities in different towns. You know, the word Haredi, the meaning of the word is afraid. Is being afraid. And we say we are proud to being afraid about our tradition. We want to save our tradition in a very strict way.
Yeah. Is it literally afraid, or could you also translate it with God-fearing?
Maybe better God-fearing. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Fearing, yeah. So we are feared about really keep it to the base, to the core.
Yeah. So very strict.
Yeah.
On every rule in Judaism.
Yeah. Sometimes even it's not only the rules, you know. Sometimes it's the way you get dressed. It's not written any place in the Bible or but it's like, this is how my father got dressed, this is how my grandfather did, so I want to keep it.
Yeah.
It's my tradition.
Yeah, yeah. I'm afraid that the way people speak about the ultra-Orthodox, it's a little bit a negatively loaded term, because there's a lot of prejudice about the Haredi community. Is this also true in Israel?
Very true, yeah. There's a lot of, and it became worse after last year, really. There's a lot of hate, and most of the hate is because of not knowing the facts, and even not knowing the people. The ultra-Orthodox community lives in closed neighborhoods, and usually secular people won't meet them for the lifetime. And then without meeting, without knowing in person, I'm not sure if they're scared from them, but they really don't know them, and then bias could flourish.
Yeah. Being such a closed group, I understand that you want to keep it a closed group because of your fear, or you want to safeguard keeping the Torah, so you live in a closed group. But wouldn't it be better to be more open and to close the bias that it causes?
That's the biggest question of our lives, and it's a big question. As a mother, I think about it. I want to protect my children, and it's really very important for me. They shouldn't get to internet, and they should get to television, and they shouldn't have smartphones or read things. So we keep them at closed neighborhoods. But as you say, it brings bias, and it brings hate, and it brings. But still, we see it very important for us to live in closed communities. But we try to send out people, as I do, as my husband does, people that want and are able to explain and to talk and to be in connections with other communities, with secular communities in Israel or around the world. So we do have meetings, but not between the children. The children, we keep them pretty protected.
Yeah. There is a very big Haredi communities in Israel. You're part of Israeli society. Does living in Israel, has it influenced this closed community living of the Haredim?
I believe yes.
I mean, in the past, Jewish communities were also very close, but they were living among the nations, and they were very different from the rest of the nations. But in Israel, it's a Jewish state, so there's all kinds of Jewish people, but you all speak the same language, you're all Jewish, you have a lot more in common than outside of Israel. So
I think that's the reason that Haredi people chose to live in closed neighborhoods, because of, as you say, 100 years ago or so, when we were living in Europe, or so a Jew was a Jew, and he was different by his clothing and by his actings. In Israel, if I won't protect my children, so they will think they could be secular, because those secular people are also Jews, and they also speak Hebrew, and they also go sometimes even to synagogue for Shabbat. So if we want to be, if we want to keep our tradition, we have to keep them in closed neighborhoods.
Yeah. So being
the influence of secular Jews is very hard in Israel.
Yeah, yeah. So being in Israel has made the Haredi public even more closed than living outside of it.
Yeah.
One of the criticisms that sounds even over the borders in Israel, and we read it in the media also very much, is that in Israel, the Haredi public, Haredi boys, do not serve in the army, or they're exempt from serving in the army. And as it's a growing community, a lot of boys don't serve to protect the state of Israel. And it seems unfair to a lot of people. How do you address this criticism?
So I'll tell you, also this is a bit biased, because big amount of boys do serve. But if you learn Torah in the yeshiva, you get a pass. You don't have to go to the army. That was the law when Ben Gurion built the country, built Israel. He said, who learns Torah, who sits in the yeshiva for those 9 or 11 hours a day, if he really sits those hours, he's not doing anything else. So he doesn't have to go to the army. And the reason was, as I said, there was a will, they wanted to build back the yeshiva, the learning of Torah. So they come in and they check. They check the students that they are there and they are sitting and learning. And if someone is not sitting and learning, he has to go to the army. They are Haredi units in the army already today, big units of of ultra-Orthodox soldiers that serve the army, not girls. Girls don't go to the army. Religious girls don't go, even not ultra-religious. Regular religious girls don't go to the army. But boys, if they don't sit and learn in yeshiva, they have to go. So it's true that the amount of boys that are sitting and learning in yeshiva is growing because the community is growing, because us having big families. If an Israeli family has 3 or 4 children, so a Haredi family will have 7, 8, and even sometimes 10 children. So the community is growing, and the amount of boys sitting in yeshiva are growing. Baruch Hashem, I'm happy of that. They are growing. And still they are not even a promille of the Jews in the world. So there's a small, tiny amount of people keeping the Torah that we believe is the reason that the world was built for. And they're just a promille of Jews around the world. So we think it's precious, and we think people should honor the fact that they are willing. It's not easy, it's no vacation. They start learning, they davening at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then they start learning from 9 till 2, they get a break till 3, and then again from 3 to 7, and then again from 9 to 11. Like really not easy. They get a break for 3 weeks at August and 3 weeks at April. That's all. They learn all around the year, all around the day. Some of them stay up at the night, 6 days a week. Shabbat is an off day, but also you have to stay in yeshiva. You don't go out of yeshiva. So it's not easy, it's not vacation. But I must say, it's a very hard question, what you asked. Because me as a religious woman working in not religious companies today, when I go into the company and a father or a mother tells me, I send my son to get killed on the borders and you don't, it's not easy for me to explain. And as I told you, it's seeing the world from 2 different hills, because and I can't answer a mother that she's not sleeping at the nights because she's so scared about her son being on the borders. So it's a big debate in Israel, and not an easy one.
No, and it seems to become an even bigger, an ever growing discussion among Israelis, that there is like this tension between less religious or secular Jews and Haredi Jews. You are a mother of 12, but you're not the only Haredi woman in Israel who has a lot of children. You're a fast-growing community, and this concerns people. They have concerns that in a few decades Israel will be mostly a Haredi country. How do you address these concerns?
I don't think someone should be concerned about it, because first of all, they won't be so fast. The most of Israel. Israel is a big country and a very stable country, and they shouldn't be concerned. But sometimes they ask us, the secular people say, if you'll be a big amount of people, how would you run the country? How would it stay secure and safe? So I tell them, look at my husband. He's a mayor of a town, and he's Haredi, and he runs the town very well. The town has security, the town has budget, the town has money, everything is running well. So that means that Haredi people could run things if they would have to. So I don't think someone should be concerned about it.
Yeah. You're saying when push comes to shove, we may be a close community, but when we need to, we can just organize a country.
Yeah, but it won't be. Israel will stay a secular state, a state of religion and a democratic and religious and Jewish state, and it won't be Iran. Don't worry.
We have sent out a video to our subscribers of you. It was about you were the chief of staff, so you traveled with President Revulin all across the world, and you met all these world leaders, but you didn't shake their hand. This is because you're an Orthodox woman. You just explained, I can only touch my own husband or my brother, no other men. How did these world leaders, who are probably used to everyone shaking their hands and being very happy to meet them, how did they respond to you?
Once we traveled to the Vatican to meet His Holiness the Pope, and I had to shake hands with him, and I asked the ambassador to tell him for the meeting that I won't, and he forgot. So the meeting came, and we were standing according to our rank. The president was first, and I was second, and I was really nervous. I didn't want to ruin the meeting, but I said, I can't shake hands with men. And the president went first, and then the Pope sent out his hand to me. So I did this, and I said, I'm religious, and I'm from, and I don't shake hands with men. And he was shocked. He said, oh, really? Is there someone still keeping that? And if each one of my staff had a moment with the Pope, I had 5 minutes explaining him about the Jewish community in Jerusalem. We came then to the Vatican because we needed big help with the Palestinians. And we were nervous. We were not sure he will want to help us. We needed a letter from him. And after this moment of me telling him I can shake hands with him, but explaining him it, and the meeting became familiarized, and he was so nice, and everything worked so well. We went out of the meeting with the letter we needed.
Wow.
So sometimes it comes like a bless people to people, but really, as I told you, it was not always easy keeping my values.
Yeah. Yeah. Another meeting which went viral, it was a meeting with President Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. He was a president already at the time you met, and President Revulin told him, ask or just guess how many children she has.
Right.
And then...
and he didn't let him guess. He answered. He said she has 12 children, and President Biden was shocked. He said, do you? Well, he is joking. And I said, no, he's not joking, I do. Oh, he said, my mother should meet you. She admired big families. I'm so sorry she's not with us anymore. She probably passed away before. And he wanted to tell me a story about his mother. But first he just, out of the blue, I was so embarrassed. I was all blushing. He went down on his knees. He said, I have to kneel for a mother to 12. And he went back up and he said, I want to tell you a story about my mother. And what do you think the president of the most biggest country in the world holds on a shelf in his working room? A picture of his mother. Isn't that amazing, you know?
Yeah.
And he was telling us a story about his mother.
Wow. You finished being the chief of staff.
I want to say something additional to that Biden story, just to say that in America, I don't know if you know, in America these days, the word family, okay, or having children, even getting married, is not so, you know, they are so liberal in America. So and thinking that the president of that state, of that liberal state, went down on his knees, not because my name is Rebecca or because I'm a chief of staff. He meets tens of chiefs of staffs a day. Just because the fact that I decided to give my life for 12 children, that really felt crazy for me.
Yeah. Yeah. You finished being the chief of staff to President Ruben Ridderhof. There's a new president in Israel, Isaac Herzog. What do you do now?
So Isaac Herzog is a very good, we were working a lot together when he was the head of Sochnut and a Jewish agency. So he offered me to stay with him, but I just then had my baby, so I decided to take a break. So sometimes I go there if they need help, but I went to private sector. I work for private companies in Tel Aviv, cyber companies, and I'm writing a big research in the Hebrew University about Haredi women in the workplace.
Ah,
yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story, for being with us here in the studio.
Thank you for listening.
U heeft het kunnen horen. We hebben een prachtig interview mogen hebben met mevrouw Rivka Ravitz hier bij ons in de studio met publiek erbij. Bedankt dat u dit interview heeft willen bekijken en graag tot een volgende livestream.